We were in a place called Little Chicago. That's about 100 miles just north of Fort Good Hope. We were in a traditional fish camp. We caught fish and set rabbit snares. I still remember when hearing the plane coming in. It came down, and my dad had a few dollars in his pocket and he gave it to me. And I remember hugging my mom and my dad and my brothers and sisters, and really feeling awful at the time and wondering what the hell is going on. Then we landed, and then Father Rayon was there with a green Suburban, and we drove into Inuvik to Grolier Hall. And it was there when I first came in contact with Sister Hébert. She marched us all up to what was junior boys. And we were told to take off our clothes and put them in a suitcase. We all lined up, and we were all given striped t-shirts, underwear, towel. She put coal oil on our heads to kill the lice, and then she shaved us with those hot clippers. The dorm was in 3 sections. We were given a locker, and we were assigned beds. John Como, the supervisor, used to sit in the middle section of that huge dorm and read stories to us out loud. And then he, after he finished, he would go to the different boys, introduce himself, and was kind and loving. Like I know it to be grooming, if you want, and seduction. I was going to the bathroom to take a piss, and that's when he grabbed me, brought me to his bedroom, and that's where he slept. And that's where I was sexually assaulted. After he had finished, I went back to my bed, and in the morning, I told Sister Hébert, and she looked at me and she said, you know, she didn't believe me. I then went to Father Rayon, the administrator, and he told me that people of God don't do that. If people of God were like that, what is God like? My parents trusted the church and the staff, and I felt ashamed and guilty, low self-esteem. The reason why I got really involved into cross-country skiing was that it took me away from the hostel, from the residential school. Any time that I passed anybody, it was John Como. And when I played hockey and I hit somebody, it was John Como. I finished third in Canada in 1969. I didn't know they had these American universities were looking for skiers, and my coach, Björger Pedersen, picked the University of Alaska. That it was on the same parallel as Fort Good Hope. Also played with the University of Alaska Nanooks hockey team, but none of that really mattered because I was carrying the shame and the guilt from the sexual assault that I experienced at Grolier Hall. In 1974, I came back, spent all my time on drinking, and my last drink was August the 7th, 1977. In February of '98 is when it finally went to court, 35 years after it happened. I went before the Supreme Court of the Northwest Territories. The relief was finally somebody in authority believed me. At the time I was working at the South Mackenzie Correctional Center in Hay River. Okay, I transferred back to the Yellowknife Correctional Center. When I came on duty, and then I went into the intake area, and there was John Como. And I looked at him, he's dressed in an inmate uniform, green. And then I looked at him, he looked at me, he didn't recognize me. And then I grabbed him, yanked him towards the bars on the cell. And I told him, I'm not that little boy that you sexually assaulted. I told him that this is my place, this is where I work. The RCMP and your defense lawyer are not here to protect you. That if you, I can throw you in a cold shower, you'll have a cold shower. There's not a damn thing that nobody is here to protect you. Nobody. So the next day, I went to Supreme Courthouse in Yellowknife. The judge had passed a year for me and a year for the other victim. My brother was shaking his head. So was my niece. And their expression of compassion towards me and family support. I was hoping that Sister Hubert and Father Rion were there to hear what John Como had to say. I was so ashamed and really felt the guilt that I never told my parents. I had to live with that for 35 years. I later became a victim's advocate, but I had to look after myself too. And there were times when they were my priority over my own life. I went through 4 suicides. One guy, they were all taking their lives because of the shame and the guilt that they were going through. And some of them are still going through that. And I'm still there for them. I'm on a healing journey, spiritual healing journey. Like we do the prayer songs, and the old man taught me the prayer song. The prayer chants is healing, like feeding the fire. I'm doing it for myself. And the ones that are benefiting besides me is my daughter and my grandchildren. Today, there's 5 grandchildren here in Edmonton, and Terrell, I just love him. I've adopted him, and I'm very tender with them. I don't want them to go through or pass on the same abuse that I went through at Grolier Hall. Such tenderness and unconditional love. And even this morning, when I woke up, there was 2 of my grandchildren sleeping with me. I know that I will get my reward when I leave this world and join some of my friends that took their life in the spiritual world. And when I see the 2 suns on the horizon, it just means that my spirit will pass from this world on to the next.